Hey, welcome, MASKast viewers and listeners. It's been, as Jason said, a minute. It's been more like an hour in some, whatever lingo you want to call it. We apologize. Unfortunately, life got in our way. That's the best answer we got. Unfortunately, life got in our way. But we are here to finally chat about episode 51, which we announced shamingly 2017.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the length. It's been a while, so we're back, and that's all
That's
people
all that
need to know.
matters. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what matters.
again, we really apologize. Unfortunately, like I said, we said in a few of our different podcasts, including the last MASKast chat, that just Jason had a job change. I've gone through a job retirement for the
And hunt.
military and job hunting now.
Yeah,
So it's just and there's tons of busy work there because we're trying to move the house or move out of this house and prep it. So yeah.
yeah. We're actually doing somewhat the same, looking for a house and trying to prep this house, and we're both got families and everything that goes along with having little kids and kids in middle school playing soccer now, and it's a balance. It's a very difficult balance when you want to do something fun like a podcast and also keep everything in your house in order. uh, but we've it's well, I will admit, at least for Mask's side, was a little bit of a motivational issue there as well. And I just got burned out for a while. I've been, well, I don't know how long we've had that, since the blog and now the Agents of Max site. It's probably been 5 or 6 years, and I just need a little break every once in a while. Need a little sabbatical.
That's it.
So
Well, it's been at least, I think, about 5 years, if I'm doing the math in my head right. Maybe going on six.
yeah, I want to say it was like 2012 when we started this show.
Yeah.
February of 2012, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're
So
right. You're right. So yeah, six.
we passed the 6 year mark, and we still got a third of the way to go.
That's
So
right. And we still haven't even gotten to the racing side yet, which I know that's going to be our probably our worst rated episodes. I hate to say the
eh,
negativity, but who knows?
we'll see. But anyway, we appreciate you guys sticking with us, tuning in, listening to old episodes. I did correct. There was a few episodes from the chat that got dropped out of the feed. Got that fixed, and the servers moved everything over to Wyatt's server now, so we got a little more stability there, and ready to pump out some episodes and dive back into reviewing, and also maybe doing some more chats along the way, and we'll see what happens. So
Sounds great. So stay
let's
tuned, and we're gonna hit the recording side of this.
yeah, let's go ahead and record the podcast. And again, if you guys aren't, who's on YouTube watching this now, this is a kind of our pre-show. If you don't listen to the podcast, I do put in lots of audio from the actual episode to make it a fun listening experience. So check out the podcast if you haven't and you've only seen us on YouTube. And we always, cross promote both ways. If you listen to the podcast, you can see our ugly mugs on YouTube if you want to. So, yeah, I'm almost in the Rex phase of this.
You are.
Whatever this is here. So I'm about ready to shave it all off as it gets closer to summer, and
Oh no,
it
you
gets
should do the
sweating and
whole
all that.
cosplay here. Maybe for this RetroCon coming up, and we could do mass cosplay.
I don't know how to. I'd have to call up our buddy Karsten and see how he's if he's. I don't think he's ever put together stiletto. Maybe he has, but we'll
No,
have
but
to put a.
the other guy we could do is that Viper Studios. That's the guy we met there the first time. He was dubbed as Miles Mayhem.
Oh yeah, that was a great costume.
Yeah,
Anyway, we've still got a few months before RetroCon hits. So
very true.
All right, well, let's get on with the podcast and record this bad boy.
Sounds great.
All right, see if I can remember how to do this. All right, here we go. Welcome, agents, to MASKast 67 and another fun episode review of the Mobile Armored Strike Command animated series. Coming up on this podcast, we will begin Season 6 of MASKast by examining Episode 51, Dragonfire. You'll hear our usual play-by-play commentary, as well as audio clips mixed in from the actual episode audio. We'll then pause to give our opinions at the dramatic halfway point and at the conclusion of the episode, along with our 1 to 5 scale rating mixed in there. After our final verdict, we'll give you, our listeners, the floor and announce the results of our online poll, and also read back your reviews posted at our website, agentsofmask.com. The easiest way to participate in these review podcasts is by visiting the website and then looking for the MASKast assignment in the right-hand column. Dragonfire was originally broadcast on December 9th, 1985 in the United States and features V.E.N.O.M visiting Borneo to seek a lost dragon temple. M.A.S.K attempts to stop them from stealing a black market fortune in jade as the temple reveals its hidden secrets. I'm Jason, one of your humble hosts of MASKast, and with me, as always, is my longtime friend and fellow co-host, the highway to my Jetto, Wyatt. Are you ready to travel where the laws of the present collide with the crimes of tomorrow?
I am. Let's get this helicopter mode going. Man, what's funny is Jason texted me earlier today, in fact, saying
Yes.
that someone did a bootleg type of YouTube. So now I got to get on it before it disappears somehow.
Yeah.
I
And for
was
those
a
of
late.
you,
I'm
I was
sorry,
going
go
to
ahead.
say, and for those of you who really don't know what we're talking about, it's the television show Highwayman that lasted all of 10 episodes, I believe in 1987, I want to say.
87, maybe 88. It was just, yeah. And I was a late bloomer on that. My dad kept telling me about it, but I never just took the time to look into it. And I caught it like on the last 2 episodes that it aired before it was, see you later. Um,
Yeah.
but
That makes sense because your dad was the trucker, right?
yeah, yeah. And what's funny is years later, about in the mid 90s, and I'll have to Google this. I used to know it. There was some funky sci-fi, and I think it was a sci-fi channel movie. They brought the trucks back. Someone,
Oh,
some
really?
TV entity or movies brought them, and it was a clip. My dad was sitting there just, thumbing through movies or whatever, and I see it like, that's the Highwayman, and it's both trucks. And then that was it. That's all I saw. I was a little disappointed. I did Google it a few years ago, and I think it's still around. That Highwayman truck, the bigger one.
Yes, I just Googled it today.
Yep,
It's a
it's a converted RV now. The trailer itself, anyway.
Well, from what I've seen, it's pretty well intact, and it's actually a mobile tattoo parlor.
Well, then they've changed it.
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't kept
called.
up.
If you go, I think it's called the Highway. It's either Highway Inc. or Highwayman Inc. Uh, they it's Highwayman Inc. Okay, I'm just cheating here. I'm looking on Wikipedia. But it was the original Highwayman truck was restored, and it's currently owned by a mobile tattoo service, Highwayman Inc. in Sulphur Springs, Texas.
That's where the truck resided. That's where its
Okay.
owner that created it. That's where it was fabricated in Texas, and I don't know where they really filmed the Highwayman series. Um, but it resided there for years. I kept following it off and on. A year or two go by, Google it. There it is. It's still there. It's still for sale. So they were trying to redo the cab. I guess I don't know, got deteriorated or just they just sitting idle, not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Someone came along and painted the flames on the trailer just after the jet engines to
Hmm.
give it that awe. I don't know if it's still there. Jason may have the image up right now, but it was pretty cool. And then you got Stiletto's uh, chopper semi. I could never locate it, but a Japanese company, ironically, was the one that came up with that truck design where it looked like a essentially a box car.
Oh, you're talking about Jacko's truck?
No, Jacko. Sorry, Jacko's
Jetto. Yeah, Jetto
Jetto.
was his name. I was just reading here that the his truck in the show was later used for the first episodes of Power Rangers Time Force.
There you go.
There's a fun fact for you. And yeah, I mean it, I have just little memories of it, and it could be. Did you tape the show maybe
I
and
have
have?
one episode taped. I think I still have the VHS on that.
See, I'm thinking I might have even watched it at your house or something. Is how I caught this show, and all I've seen is little glimpses and images and the
Yeah.
intro, outro, and I was actually listening to the first Rediscover the '80s podcast where we talked about Jacko, the Energizer Bunny
Oi.
guy. Oi,
Yeah.
and that's what kind of spawned me to go searching for Highwayman. And so now I'm ready to go binge that on YouTube. The first episode is like a movie. It's like a
It
90
is.
minute movie,
It
and
is.
then
Yeah.
there's 9 other episodes. I think those are maybe 60 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever
Right.
the standard was back then for an hour show.
Right. And its creator was Glenn Larson, who created Knight Rider.
Right,
So that was
right.
the novelty coolness of it. And that's why, at least for me, I saw I'll call it the likeness. I still remember, kind of like the Kit Knight Rider screen, like talking to Devin, except they talked to whoever the boss was. And the
Mhm.
lighting, the uh, for lack of a better term, templates for the buttons and lights was very close to the newer season 3, season 4 Knight Rider Dash. So I'm like, is that it? Never put two and two together till years later. I was researching it and I came up that Glenn Larson tried to sell it off and it didn't work out very well.
Gotcha,
Sadly, I thought that was
gotcha.
a cool concept, but in my head, of course, me with my Airwolf, I thought it'd be even cooler to have Airwolf be the chopper pod that flies
Hmm.
in and somehow lands on it, tucks itself away, and you don't know
Yeah,
it's really Airwolf, which you and I and anybody else from the 80s would know that's Airwolf. But
right,
that
right.
whole it's in stealth mode. It's a truck, yeah,
Yeah,
with a
yeah,
helicopter
yeah,
body on top.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, it's a cool concept, and again, it's something I've never watched all the way through before. So I'm going to try to do that while it's still available
yeah,
over on YouTube because as they describe it here, it's Mad Max meets Knight Rider. So it's kind of in this like post-apocalyptic future, and you have these lawmen who are fighting crime with these crazy vehicles. So it's a little it's a little in the neighborhood of Mask, I guess you could say, with the transforming vehicles.
yeah.
So that's why I was like, well, this would be the perfect time to talk about it on a show like this where we're talking about a team that has transforming vehicles.
Well, would you think that Kit was partly masked when he hit Super Pursuit mode? I mean, he kind of, sort of. I'm reaching there.
Well, he did go on the water that one episode,
He
right?
did.
So he was kind
Yeah.
of like Shark, maybe a little bit. If he had put out like the Super Pursuit mode and then jumped on the water, he'd look a little bit more
No,
Mask-ish.
we'll have to
But
do another one, and you said it too. Maybe the next MASKast will do the Viper chat.
oh yeah,
I think he's more
that's
of a
another
masked
show.
vehicle there, but
That's true. That's true. That's another one that I found texted him about. It's on the same YouTube channel
yeah.
that
I
I've
love me that
never watched.
Viper. I I was die hard when it came out. I was already in love with the Dodge Viper. It didn't matter what they were going to do with it. But then I started, seeing the promos. I'm like, okay, finally we get a car that's going to be the star, not
Right, right.
Dressed up soap operas. Come on, give me some
Yeah,
real car stars like Kit, Knight Rider, or Airwolf, and something like that. I saw that
yeah.
car, man. I followed it. I followed it until it dropped off the face of the earth, and then of course, I started joined the military, and it's all past tense now.
All right. Well, I guess we'll move on and let's go get our mask on. And really, there hasn't been a whole lot of news that we haven't really already covered. If you'll go back just one episode in the podcast feed and go listen to what we were talking about with Hasbro and how they've kind of shaped their movie universe now, essentially eliminating M.A.S.K, which really sucks.
Yep.
But since the last time we did a regular MASKast episode, the comic series did come to an end. It lasted 10 issues. And I really want to do kind of a wrap up or a final verdict type MASKast chat, maybe with Eric or Bill, who's ever available, or anyone else out there that wants to jump on with us and talk about that whole comic series and how it ended and what you liked, what you didn't like, and just kind of give an overview of what IDW did with it, and kind of go from there. I have collected most of the issues, most of the covers, probably about 80% or 85%. So I've gone through them all. It's been a while since I read the last, well, the first issues. I've kind of read the last ones, but it kind of, for me, it kind of tailed off a little bit, and it dropped that little section, which was kind of like the fan section, that we got real excited about in those first I think 4 or 5 issues, when they were interviewing Doug and had little highlights from collectors and stuff, and that's what I was really geared up for. But that kind of tailed off towards the end to make way for advertisements for other comic books, really. They did come back, though, right after, I think it was right after they ended, or right towards the end of it, where issue 10 was released, and they plugged in M.A.S.K into this 4-comic volume of what they called First Strike. And they did do a like a 1-issue M.A.S.K comic book to deal with that series, and I did grab those. I sadly didn't read them, so I don't know. I wasn't really interested in getting back into that universe after I finished up the M.A.S.K series. So would encourage your thoughts on that too, if anyone out there has read First Strike and how that tied into the 10-issue series, and your thoughts, comments on that. You can go ahead and leave those, and we'll put that out there maybe when we do our overview of the comic series. But yeah, that's been about it. We got the end of the IDW series. We got M.A.S.K showing up a little bit in that First Strike, which was last fall, and then things got kind of stirred up around Christmas and first of the year with Hasbro's announcement on the movies and such. And that's been about it. It's been pretty quiet. I've been pretty quiet along the way too. Haven't dove in like we usually had with these episode reviews, and posted the panoramas and stuff that I usually did over there on Facebook and Pinterest and Twitter. I did get one done tonight. If you will get over there and check that out, and we'll get to that as we review the episode. But as we get back into podcasting, maybe I'll get more motivated to get more stuff on the website.
That'd be great. I mean,
So,
I need to get involved as well. Again, work mostly consumes most of my day. So
yeah, I mean, me as well with the new job, so I don't get a chance to dig on the web as much during the day. But anyway, here we are. And here we are ready to dive into season 6, episodes 51 to 60. So are you ready to go to Borneo, my friend?
I'm ready to start the MASKast. We gaze upon a foggy mountain, then pan downwards on a village where we find Scott amazed that medicine is found in trees. Matt responds that there's enough quinine from for doctors to treat hundreds of malaria patients. T-Bob adds that another important item that doctors get from trees is tongue depressors, and the trio, along with Julio Lopez, have a little chuckle. Dr. Munda walks
Mm-hmm.
up, enjoying some laughter, and provides them with some refreshments. Julio asks if he could have a peek at his botany experiments. Dr. Mundo, Dr. Munda replies that it'd be his pleasure. Then a thunderstorm surprises them. Scott asks what was that, with T-Bob replying that he hopes it isn't a storm because his head leaks and his feet flood. Again, one of those.
Now the tongue, maybe it was just because I hadn't watched an episode in several months, but the tongue depressors thing actually made me chuckle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this one was
and
one of the. This was one of those roll your eye moments
yeah,
for me,
and then it was all downhill from there. Yeah.
pretty much. So Dr. Mundo states that that Mount Kinabalu is acting up. Matt questions that the Mount Kinabalu, with Dr. Munda pointing out that it is ahead of him, being the largest mountain in Borneo. He has that it also. He adds that it always is covered with this greenish cloud, and the natives say that it hides its secrets. Curiously asks what kind of secrets, to which Dr. Munda replies to Ada, the younger boy, and asks him to tell them. Do you want to take it?
Sure. Um, the boy says many have climbed up the mountain to discover the secrets, but none have come back. Woo! He continues that the thunder is the roar of dragons, and the lightning is the dragon's fire. At night now, the fire lights up the sky. No. Oh, and then he says, at night, the fire lights up the sky. Scott asks T-Bob, wouldn't he like to meet a real fire-breathing dragon? He says with his luck, he'll end up Kentucky Fried T-Bob.
That was actually kind of a chuckle. Not a great chuckle, but not a roll your eyes moment for me.
Well, I hadn't put roll my eyes in the notes yet, but
Okay.
that's coming. Uh, May. What did I say? May there. Matt is still puzzled by the green lightning, and Julio wonders what's going on up there, as Matt says he'd like to find out. Well, then we are transferred later, and we are descended on the greenhouse, with Julio very impressed at how many different plants are growing. Dr. Munda shows off a very interesting plant that can sense danger. He takes some scissors nearby and he tries to chop off the stem of the plant, but it moves out of the way. Julio asks where he found it, and the doctor tells him all of the plants that he has in the greenhouse there, the doctor tells him most of the plants in the greenhouse there were discovered on the slopes of Mount Kinabalu, and all have magical-like properties. Well, Scott is amazed by this, and then he hears a sound, and he investigates by opening the back door to the greenhouse. T-Bob warns him. T-Bob warns him to be careful. It could be a killer turnip, and this is where I rolled my eyes the first time. They discover a orangutan in a cage outside, with Scott commenting that it's cute. T-Bob says it's got a beautiful head of hair all over its body. Another roll my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Then the doctor approaches and sees they've met Simbala, who natives rescued after she was protecting her child from a tiger. Matt then asks if they ever found her kid. But Dr. Munda says, no, it escaped during the attack, and Simbala is now heartbroken. Well, T-Bob says he'll cheer her up, and he starts dancing around and making like noises, like monkey noises. And everybody, of course, starts to laugh at him. And then T-Bob approaches the cage, and Matt suggests that Simbala thinks T-Bob is her baby. So the Simbala then grabs T-Bob through the bars and tries to make him eat a banana. T-Bob says, no, thank you. They don't appeal to me. Roll my eyes. Scott then eggs on T-Bob, saying he's got a pretty mother now.
Mm-hmm.
But just about then, Matt pulls Dr. Munda to the side, and he asks him if he could watch Scott and T-Bob for a couple days now. The doctor agrees. As Matt explains, he and Julio want to get a closer look at the dragon fire. Dr. Munda advises against it, though, that even he doesn't understand all of its mysteries. Matt insists on going so long as he doesn't mind watching Scott and T-Bob, which, I don't know, that might be a chore in of its own, trying to discover mysteries. Anyway, Dr. Munda says it's not a problem and that T-Bob might help Simbala's recovery. So we now see Simbala now kissing T-Bob, and he says he thinks Simbala is trying to make a monkey out of him, as they all laugh again, and I roll my eyes again. So we come to the next day, finally.
I think we need to add another gauge on our our MASKast.
Okay.
How many roll your eye moments does Jason count for T-Bob?
I usually keep track, and it's usually approaching double digits.
So we fade up to the next scene where we see Thunderhawk cruising through the jungle with Julio still amazed at the green mist and asking if Matt has a clue of what they'll find. Matt replies that he hasn't the foggiest. Ba-dum-bum. Then we hear chants with Matt suggesting that it looks like trouble as we hear the squealing tires as Matt corners. Inside a village, a man states that it was horrible, that Bad Man was forcing him to tell where the Temple of Dragon is.
I think you did that better than the actual voice person there.
I was trying to make out who that was, and I couldn't quite. I don't think it was Doug, but
I couldn't either. But especially this guy, I had to go back and repeat a couple times, rewind to catch what he was saying.
So Julio asks what it is, with the man replying that it is a sacred, and the man replies that it is a sacred place built many years ago for their gods. When he refused to tell them, the bad man destroyed their meeting place with boom boom. Matt asks for a description, to which the man replies that he couldn't see their faces, only strange masks. Julio states that it's the obvious, it's Venom, and they meant business. Matt walks over to the wreckage and says that the side of the building is perforated with little holes, and so jokes that it's putting in air conditioning the hard way. Julio calls Matt over, showing him ball bearings all over. Matt concludes that it's the same type from Floyd Malloy's buckshot mask, confirming it's Venom now. It's time for the call-up. And
right.
I guess to me, we had a weak intro for me. There's no mask computer, the protocol. Come on. But the monitor pops up, and we get Brad Turner with Condor. He's useful for mountain climbing while he's jamming with his headphones, and he runs out with headphones on and pulls his stereo, his hi-fi.
We've all done that before, right?
Not me.
Oh, okay.
Not knowingly.
I think I've done that a time or two.
Gloria Baker gets Shark. She is a former student of anthropology. Why is she a former student?
Right.
Anyway, she's in the middle of karate fighting and ducks out with the opponent thrusting with the fist and then falling flat on his face. Julio is already pre-selected with Firefly, and he's a doctor in family medicine. Don't know why that was important at this moment. We'll see later. And we get the Matt, approved, a simple mobile armor strike command. And then he converts Thunderhawk into jet mode and they sail away. T-Bob is peeling a banana while saying, she loves me not, she loves me, in sighs, tossing the banana into a huge stack of bananas behind him. Symbala blows T-Bob a kiss and he tells her to stop that. He's not her kid. He asks if he looks like a banana, with her replying with a yes. Scott laughs from a distance while munching on a banana himself. He says that she's gone ape over him, and Scott thinks that she wants T-Bob to move into her cage. He exclaims that he's not moving anywhere as he begins to walk towards Scott, slipping on a banana peel and sliding right back into the cage with Symbala now comforting. Scott laughs, of course. T-Bob tells her to get her furry hands off of him. They end up basically rocking that cage to the point of it tipping over. Then Sabala emerges from the opening and carries T-Bob off into the jungle. Scott runs in pursuit with T-Bob shouting, "Follow that ape!" That actually was kind of funny to me.
I thought we could just get rid of that whole scene right there.
I think I got a precursor of what your rating's going to be already.
Well, well, I don't. I mean, up to this point, not knowing the second half of the episode, I was like ready to. All right, just take T-Bob off into the jungle, and we'll meet again at the end of the episode. That's all. That's all I wanted right there. Take him and go, man. Just go. Scott, why are you chasing him down? Just let him go.
Now here's the comical part. I put a little thing on my notes. When I heard "go off into the jungle," I couldn't help but think of "Welcome to the Jungle" in my head.
Yeah. Now that would have been more entertaining. Have Guns N' Roses as the soundtrack.
There you go.
That's that would be what I would be looking for there. Okay, so we after Scott runs after Symbala, clutching T-Bob into the jungle, we come back to Thunderhawk landing amongst a field of flowers and like plants. And Julio and Matt are now in their mask flight suits magically.
Yep.
Julio wonders if Mayhem is after the flowers, like magical powers. And that's exactly what Matt thinks, that he could be right, and remembers that Dr. Munda said that they have magical properties. Thunderhawk stops now, and Julio gets out to have a look. Matt tells him to be careful as he walks through this field down this path. Matt calls out to him to see if he sees anything interesting, but he can't see Julio anymore. Then Matt gets out calling for him again as he's walking down the same path. He finds Julio face down and asks what happened to him. Julio doesn't respond. He kind of grunts a little bit, and Matt notices some human skulls nearby. He picks up one, and like these mushrooms underneath give off this aura or scent or mist, whatever you want to call it, smoke. And Matt now thinks that they are poisonous, and he's in a grave situation as he collapses groaning. And we fade to the dramatic commercial break with both of the agents face down in this field and groaning. So that was a pretty good drama leading up to the to halftime here. Give me your impressions so far.
Well, I'll start with the positive. It was a good call up, minus that they didn't actually, do the whole mask connect mass computer uplink, the whole nine. But anyway, so it was a good call up. You can start seeing that there's a small plot coming together. They've assumed that Venom's the enemy. They're ready to engage, but they want to still investigate what is so magical or intriguing about this mountain, the Dragon Mountain. It seems like the monkey scene was actually a little comical, was drawn out. I know you alluded to it.
Yeah.
just too much, but it may lead to uh, now knowing. But as I was writing this down, this monkey scene might lead to part two, so we see how it works out. Uh, I like the mystery of the mountain and the ever curious Matt, who just can't help but explore what he's not allowed to.
Hmm.
Um, I like the suspense with Julio basically disappearing off into the flowers and not responding, and then we see Matt following along, trying to look for his buddy, and then passes out himself. The ticks that slight markdowns was the call up got to me a little bit. The flying scene, it looked like because you see that the doors open.
Hmm.
So initially, I thought they were still flying until I realized they had landed. To
Right.
me, there was a little bit of a disconnect that they actually landed on the ground.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a little. They could have done that better. Um, like you mentioned, they mysteriously change into flight suits somehow, like they've done before. Um,
Yeah.
and the other thing, a little minor tick, but I maybe I never noticed it before. But has T-Bob always had that bleepy noise along with the voice?
Oh, kind of in the background, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's always had that kind of mechanical
I
as
guess I
he
just never
thinks.
picked up on it as much as I did this time around. I
Okay.
maybe just oddity for me today. So yeah. So
So what
anyway,
was your, go ahead.
overall, I'm at a 4.5, just a little marked
Really?
down. So yeah.
Okay.
How about you? You're a three, right?
Oh, I'm getting into it. I do agree. It was like a slow building episode. It just felt like, okay, let's get through this scene. Let's get to the next one. Okay, we're here, and we kind of slow down. And all right, we're finally to the next scene. It just kind of felt like it was slow building. Um, we got the call up, but no agents yet. That's fine. Because I know there were some episodes we don't get the call up until after halftime.
Right.
So uh, we didn't get any Venom technically. We didn't. I kind of wanted a scene with Venom in the first half, just to kind of see a little bit what they're doing, not necessarily to reveal the whole plot and plan and all that. I would have liked to see maybe a scene of them speeding through the field where they were at or something, and just setting them up a little bit more. But some people might prefer not to have like a full reveal yet. So I don't know. I just felt like they could have had a maybe like one scene. I like the drama. When we faded out, I had honestly no idea how they were going to escape from this. If the what I was hoping would happen was the transport plane comes in and the other agents find them and rescue them, or
Right.
something like that. Um, but I don't know. I I was also thinking, however, that if they're going through this area that they thought was dangerous, and they've had multiple warnings from people. The one guy even said, people have gone and they've never come back. Why wouldn't you have your mask on or something? Maybe, I don't know, maybe that would have filtered out the toxins from this, poisonous mushroom, the sleeping mushrooms. I don't know. I don't know. I that was just more kind of something that hit me along the way.
Right.
Um, and the T Bob jokes were starting to wear on me. That I don't know, that whole scene just seemed a little bit ridiculous with T Bob. The monkey taking T Bob into the jungle. If it was just for comedic value. Now, again, these were my impressions at halftime, so it did kind of come back around uh, after the break. So I was just feeling there better be a little bit more something to this
Right.
because I didn't want that whole sidebar with them just fooling with the monkey the whole episode. So that did get better. And then just a little final thought on like the animation. I don't know. I thought it was just kind of average. And again, maybe this is because I haven't watched an episode in a while, but um, except for like those lead-in shots, like they always do to set up the scene where they're coming in on that bungalow and then the village. They do some nice panning left to right, up and down,
Right.
and zooming in and stuff. So they always set up the scenes really nice in the episodes. But there wasn't really anything spectacular that jumped out at me. There's always a few shots that I noticed. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's really creative the way they did that. I didn't get any of that in the first half. And like I mentioned before too, the voice work for the natives was a little funky too, where I couldn't fully understand them, and I had to stop and rewind and go back and listen. Okay, he was saying bad men. Okay, anyway,
Right.
Starting with a 5, I'm going all the way down to 3.5. I took a 1.5 off,
Jeez.
so I'm down to 3.5 on this one. I don't know. I was hoping it was going to at least stay at that level or get a little bit better with the story and how they were setting it up. But I had to bring it down some. Those daggum jokes were just killing me. And some of it was, I don't know. Well, I'll talk a little bit about more of it at the end. But anyway, coming back from the break, we really don't know what happened right away, do we?
No, we fade up. We see and hear T-Bob yelling for Scott to help him while hopping through the trees with Sambala. Scott is swinging through the vines like Tarzan and tells him that she's taking him to Mount Kinabalu. T-Bob replies that he knows, but there isn't anything he can do. Scott ends up landing on a branch, looking around in the mist, and tells him to keep yelling. He asks which way did he go. T-Bob yells back, that's it. The one thing he's good at, then yells out, "Aye!"
That was kind of funny. He's
Yeah.
making fun of himself there.
So Scott grabs another vine and begins to swing. Then we cut to Zimbala landing on a branch that breaks. Zimbala catches her balance but loses her grip on T-Bob, sending him plummeting to the ground. Zimbala looks around for T-Bob through the mist, makes a few monkey sounds, and then hops off. We cut to T-Bob looking himself over and seeing only one dent. Then a little arm emerges from T-Bob's head, cap, whatever it is, and repairs the dent, which I'm guessing that this was a new feature since the episode in which Scott basically did a small bumping out job on him, but I guess excessively tired about it. So he added the little feature to pop the dents out. Anyway, after repairing himself, he begins yelling for Scott and walking around and comments that it's one of those pea soup fogs without the soup. He calls out repeatedly until we fade into the next scene. And that takes us to the flowers with T-Bob still yelling, "Anyone here?" Then he trips and asks, "What's this?" He then notices that he tripped over Julio and then Matt. They are still groaning while he asks what happened. Next, we see T-Bob carrying the both of them, with Scott now walking into the scene quietly saying help. T-Bob puts the agents down and grabs Scott, asking him to hold on. Scott confirms that it's T-Bob, as he seems to be just basically out of it. Then he says that he feels so sleepy. T-Bob quips, "Welcome to T-Bob's slumber party," and then he converts into scooter mode and basically grabs all three.
Somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that, but anyway, he grabs them all, and we see him hauling them all uh, while he's saying that he's not kind of lost anymore. Not,
Completely.
yeah, that's what I thought I wrote. Not now. He's just completely lost. I'm still trying to figure out, like you said, how he's loaded everybody up after converting. Whatever.
Well, yeah, and even just pulling Matt and Julio themselves over his shoulders on either
Right.
side. And I just can't picture him, they're like feet dragging behind them and how he's able to, I don't know. I don't picture T-Bob as that being that strong, you know.
Who knows? But we're now at minute 13 and 16.
Right. And we finally get a little scene with Venom here with that wonderful military theme in the background. We see Venom vehicles Stinger and Piranha and Vampire. Behind the wheel of Stinger, Bruno spots a boulder ahead in the road. Mayhem says they are too close to the peak now and tells him to remove it from the road. Stinger and they all pull up, and Stinger pulls sideways to activate the trunk claw. It opens and takes one big swing at the boulder to essentially chop it in half, and then he picks up the other like large piece in the way, and he moves it, and it lands right above Malloy on the vampire bike, who looks a little frightened that it, like
Yeah, I would be.
might come down on him, and he decides the heck with this, and he just speeds ahead with all the other vehicles now following him. And then Venom says they are getting close to the luckiest find ever, the Temple of Dragons and its riches. And we cut quickly now back to the M.A.S.K team.
I
As
was I,
Scott.
well,
Okay, go
I'm gonna
ahead.
stop you just for a second. I was a little disappointed. There was no, you know, idiot insults or anything right there from Floyd, like "Hey, you idiot" or something.
Well, it kind of looked like he was going to say something. That's why he had that crazy look on his face, like "Watch out, you moron" or
Yeah,
whatever.
but
Because they did go back and forth a little bit later in the episode. But like, yeah, like you say, that would have been a great time for a little back
they
and
could have cut the
forth.
monkey scene and added one of those in there.
Right. But anyway, okay. So now as they remove this obstruction and head back towards the temple, we go back to M.A.S.K, and Scott is now waking up, wondering where he is, with T-Bob, Matt, and Julio standing over him. Julio assures him that there's nothing to fear now, and Matt says T-Bob saved their lives. Scott calls T-Bob a hero, as he says it was only because he was scared and that his shocks are still in shock. Rolling my eyes.
Yeah,
Uh, they all chuckle. There was a lot of chuckling in this episode. I don't know. It just seemed like for being on a mission and stuff, they were laughing, taking time out to laugh a lot. Anyway, so they all chuckle as Scott spots the M.A.S.K, quote unquote, hovercraft.
yeah. Now we have
Which
a
we
name for the plane.
we usually call it the transport plane, and I believe it has shown hovering abilities before.
It has.
Uh, for some reason, I want to say it's the Green Nightmare episode, but I could be wrong. Um, but yeah, this is I think the second time at least we've seen it kind of swoop in and land like a Harrier jet right there in front of the agents, and we see those big mouth cargo doors open up, and we see Condor and Shark and Firefly emerging. I don't know who's driving Firefly, but
That's my
somebody was
question
driving it.
exactly.
uh, but we get a nice shot now of Brad and Gloria and Julio putting on his mask in the Firefly cockpit. And then we get this nice swooping shot from right to left of all of the vehicles right in front of the transport plane, or the hovercraft, as Scott calls it.
Right.
That was a really cool shot. That's the one that I made a panorama of and put up on Facebook. But anyway, Matt tells them to get going, and it's time to ruin Mayhem's day. And all I could think of, but how do they know where Mayhem is?
Exactly.
So okay, well, anyway, they roll out through the jungle with Symbala looking overhead. And now we're back to Venom.
Right. As they approach the temple, which is glittering now, with Miles astounded, saying, "What a magnificent masterpiece! A beautiful work of art." That's my best impression. The temple is made out of pure jade and worth a fortune on the black market, especially the dragon. Bruno wants to confirm that there really aren't any fire-breathing dragons, with Miles saying, "Of course not," as we hear thunder raining down. The lightning illuminated the temple as they look on, and the dragon fires the lightning being reflected off of the jade temple, giving it that green glow. Floyd seems inquisitive and rolls up the temple steps and meets a dragon face with the eyes glowing. It spooks him, and he races out of the temple, surprising the rest of the Venom agents. Floyd pulls up along Miles and with the windows down on Scorpion, tells him that he saw a dragon inside the temple. It's huge. It's even uglier than Bruno. As Bruno preps to retaliate, Miles calms him down and says that that's the reason that they are there. He wants that dragon head and gives a fiendish laugh as he replies. Fading to the dragon's head, Miles states that it's the purest jade in the world and would easily fetch $10 million. He instructs Bruno to rip it out. The stinger claw, I called it Scorpio stinger. I guess that episode screwed me up because they were in the scorpion thing.
Scorpion, yeah.
So anyway, the stinger claw comes out, and Bruno states that he's going to show them an old wrestling hold, the headlock. And immediately I thought of WWF, an old Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Anyway, the claw grabs what looks like the teeth of the mask, this dragon face, and Miles instructs to take it outside and to be careful. Just as they prep to exit, Rex and Floyd race in, saying they have trouble coming, big trouble. Miles looks out and shouts, "Mask!" and instructs them to keep them away from the temple at all costs. His mask comes down, and they'll give them a surprise attack. And that leads us to cutting over to Mask.
Right. And as M.A.S.K approaches, Julio says there's no sign of Venom around the temple. Matt says they are near and eyes their vehicle tracks along the road. He tells the team they need to be ready and orders them to convert to defense mode. And we see Thunderhawk and Condor and Firefly convert into action. I'm not sure why we didn't see Shark there. Then we see Stinger and Vampire convert, and they approach M.A.S.K head on as Mayhem now is telling Bruno, Mayhem is now telling Bruno to hold Shark back, and it blasts its wheel lasers at Shark as Gloria steers towards the water and basically drives right into it. Obviously, yeah. She can handle that in Shark. In the sky now, we see Vampire shooting 2 missiles at Thunderhawk. And we've seen this trick from Thunderhawk before, actually, to Switchblade, but the missiles attached to the door wings and engaged, and it forces Thunderhawk essentially backwards, counteracting its engines. We see that Scott and T-Bob are actually inside Thunderhawk, with T-Bob saying, "It's been nice knowing me." He's, obviously getting scared. Matt tries to counteract them. He's kind of fidgeting with the stick there, and that's when Condor swoops in, and Brad says he's going to put a start to that stop and shoots those missiles off the wings. And then we get Venom essentially retreating to the temple and using it kind of as a battle platform there, and starts firing its lasers back towards M.A.S.K as they're approaching. But little do they know behind them that these creatures have emerged from the chamber below where the dragon head was. And one of these lizard-like creatures comes behind Rax and starts breathing on him. And Rax says he wishes Bruno would quit breathing down his neck. And he turns around and notices, well, it's not Bruno. And he freaks out and speeds away in Piranha. And just as Mayhem is kind of complaining at Rax for leaving the scene, one shows up beside him and he squeals. And then we see Stinger and Vampire making a getaway. And Brad from above now wonders what's with Venom, as they now see these dragons, as Scott calls them, emerging from the temple. Matt says they're huge monitor lizards. Now we see Gloria, who's somehow back on the land, telling Julio they need to send them back to the temple. and apparently Julio knew exactly what she was talking about. Is the Julio gives them a. This was just ridiculous to me. Okay, Julio shoots this oil slick. I think he said a blast of oil slick or something.
Yeah.
It gets all over the road, and then Gloria uses the aura to essentially slide these lizards back towards the temple or in the temple, and they all retreat to their hole. And Gloria says it's time they put a lid on them. So Aura does its best lifter imitation and picks up the dragon head and places it back over the chamber with the lizards.
Yeah,
That
that was a big. Uh, I guess there's more to aura than meets the eye, but aura seems to be that magical. Whatever they want to do with it, they'll do with it. It could
it
be lifter
is.
one day, it could be a shockwave type blast the next. You never know. I'm gonna go a tick back when
Uh,
these um, I didn't call them creatures. I called them crocodiles because that's what it looked like at first when they were emerging out of that pit. If you listen to
yeah.
the I'll call it the joyful music. To me, it reminded me of "Dare to Be Stupid" by Weird Al.
Okay.
I'm listening to it. I'm like, man, am I watching the Transformers movie? The junk bots? This is hilarious. Uh,
I
but
think I
yeah,
have my song for if I ever do a Dagger music video. I'm going to use "Dare to Be Stupid."
now that would be awesome as he gets ejected off the bike.
No, no, Dagger.
Oh,
Dagger,
Dagger. Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
and anyway, I don't know.
yeah.
That just kind of popped in my head.
So the
But
team joins
then
up
we
and
finally, after all this, go
go ahead.
ahead. I was going to kick it back over to you.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So after this crazy team up here with Gloria and Julio, Matt encourages them.
Right. So the team joins up and Matt tells them good work and ponders who was more scared, the monitor lizards or Venom. Scott suggests that, uh, Scott suggests they get a good look at the jade lizard head. The duo looks for a few seconds, and Scott says, "Neat," with T-Bob asking if he just hissed. One of the lizards didn't essentially go home, and he peeps out from behind the dragon jade and starts walking towards them with the duo stuck in a corner, and the M.A.S.K team rushing to their aid. And of course, they're not wearing their masks, so I don't know how they're going to help.
Right. Ah! Ah!
Yeah. Anyway, so Symbala rescues them by sticking a large log, I would call it, in the lizard's mouth, which makes it just simply turn and walk away out of scene. Matt asks if they're okay, and Scott replies they are thanks to Symbala. They look to see where she ran off to, and then they spot her with her lost baby. Scott comments that it's cute. They act like they're almost human, and T-Bob interjects, "Yes, just like me." And they end with a laugh. Boom, boom. And that,
There's so much wrong in that whole scene.
yeah,
Where did the baby come from? Like you said, they didn't have their mask. What were they going to do? Beat the tar out of the lizard before it eats the. Anyway, yeah, we fade out and we fade up into our wonderful PSA at the
right.
end, which kind of tied in. It's about lightning and thunderstorms. So we fade up and Scott and T-Bob are caught in the middle of a thunderstorm in a field. And T-Bob suggests cover under a tree. Scott says no, trees attract lightning and thunderstorms. And just about that time, lightning strikes the tree that they were going to, and it kind of catches on fire and falls over. And T-Bob says he was right, and being around him is one shock after another. And Scott laughs in the pouring rain as we fade to black. And that was our episode. Let you go first so you can say all the positive things you would like to say.
Oh,
I do have a few. I do have
I'm,
a few positive
I'm
things to
sure they got the names right, right?
say.
Um, well, I'm changing my rating because on our poll,
Mm-hmm.
I was initially at a we'll call it a rounded up 5. I was really liking it. Going through it again now that we've had a second couple months look at it. Um, I I think I marked it down at least 1, but we'll go here. To me, the whole thing was there was good drama. There was that start and stop like you suggested, but to me it was good for the most part. Good details throughout most of the episode. The animation was a little downgraded, but not like it has been. We've seen worse before. The attacks and interaction as well as the mask use was a little bit better than we've seen in past most recent episodes. There was a quick but actually a decent runaway from Venom with the lizards. Still, they engage in enemies and a lizard scares them away. I don't know. Um,
Ridiculous.
yeah. However, they could have engaged or tried to hurt them with mass coming in. Something could have been done. Uh, for me, I guess it just didn't take that much away. Symbala rescuing the duo was great, but where did that lizard go that walked away? Where'd he go? Back in the
Mhm.
hole? Is he wandering in the woods? Whatever. Um, the major dings I had was the reverse jet rockets that were on Thunderhawk. It if it's not going forward and it's not going backward, what's
You're
keeping it up
going,
there? It should
right. You're
be
going
dropping
down.
like a rock. So to me, it just locked it in like hover mode.
Yeah.
So that put it down for me. Um, I marked it down for that oil slick because, and I'm looking at the mechanics of it, not the cartoon side of it. Oil and car typically slide.
Yeah. They were not sliding at all.
No, not at all. So that marked it down for me. Um, like we identified, where were their masks when the duo are getting bombarded? Do they think the mission was over? Obviously they did because they took their masks off. But I would have thought Matt usually has that mask, the Spectrum mask in his hand somewhere. So at least he could have done something. Um, and then like you said, where'd the baby come from? Was it just sitting in this temple this whole time and just chilling? Um, and then this latter half, the jokes were starting to get to me. So I pulled it down to a 4. So we'll have to somehow change my rating on the polls. But I'm at a 4. I'm afraid to ask what yours is. Is it a Panda Power rate?
you're you're way too generous on your ratings.
Maybe I
I don't
am.
know. I just feel like I'm a little more realistic. But anyway, it, you might talk me down to Panda Power if we keep going at this. Uh, I don't know. From the beginning to the end, it just felt like the story was just spliced together too much. There's just so many questions that came up, and trying to piece the story from front to back together. And it was kind of like they were making it up as we go. Oh, we forgot to. We were going to talk about the orangutan's baby. Oh, we'll just make it appear at the end of the episode. Everybody will be happy. And again, I understand this is for kids. Kids aren't going to pick up on all these little details, but it's just us going
No.
back now, and this is our rating now. So I really hate to be a downer on the the first episode back, first episode of the season, but I pulled it down to a 2. I voted it a 2.
Holy
Uh,
cow, it's a Panda Power.
no, Panda Power was 1. Panda
Was it?
Power was the only one that I've ever given, and I stand by that one. Uh, I don't know. There's just too many times where I had to connect the dots, and I was like, this is horrible. The best things I pulled out, the when they did the conversion scene, that scene, and then the ones when the agents initially roll out, those were a really good sequence. The animation was great. I loved Condor's conversion on the scene. You could tell that was new, and it had the really awesome sound effects with the helicopter. I mean, I could really tell listening or watching and listening with my headphones in, that the sound effects were great. They did have that kind of hovering Thunderhawk sound, which I'm not really. It's not the best one to use, I think. But I did like Condor and that conversion, and those scenes were really good. And of course, like I said, the PSA tied in, so we always give it a little bit extra for that. I had a lot of bad, and the more that I hear you talking, I don't know. I some of these were maybe more ticks than bad, but I just kind of listed them all out. The main thing was, okay, so how did Venom learn where the temple was? And so much about this dragon head that was there, because you remember in the beginning, the first half of the episode, when they met the native guy, he was like, I didn't tell him anything, and they blew up my, boom, boom. So unless they raided another village or something, how did they get up this information? Because it was a big mystery. I mean, that was part of it. It was curious. They didn't know what was up there. So how do they know everything? That's what I wanted them to solve a little bit as they're working their way up. And then the second part was, why wasn't M.A.S.K as surprised and stunned and in awe like Venom was when they initially saw the temple? It was like, oh, I don't see Venom around the temple. There's a whole freaking temple full of, that's made of jade that you've never seen before. Why aren't you freaking out?
Right.
That was like, I don't know. I wanted some of that mystery and whole setup about that, temple on the mountain and all that to be more impactful to M.A.S.K when they saw it. I mentioned they left Gloria out of the conversion scene, obviously probably because there was no water, but then they do throw some water in there so she can drive her car into it, but we don't see it coming back out. And
we don't see it used.
Again, it's just a lot of cut and splice, a lot of connect the dots. That they that they make the audience go through while you're watching this. The whole oil slick and aura trick, I have no idea how that combination was supposed to work, and why it didn't, like you showed, or what, like you said, why it didn't affect the M.A.S.K vehicles at all driving through it. It would make a little more sense if he laid a path of oil slick to that opening,
right?
And then she used the aura to push them into the oil and slide them down into that thing. That's what I thought they were going to do, but it wasn't really portrayed on screen. So that, and I was like, wow, okay, that was just crazy. Another thing that really bothered me was, I'm not sure why they chose the agents that they did, other than that Julio was there. Their skills that they announced, okay, so Brad's a big rock climber, mountain climber. Well, why didn't they show him somehow climbing up the mountain?
Right.
Maybe that was the drama or something. I don't know. Gloria could have easily been replaced by Bruce with his lifter mask.
True.
For what she was doing. I don't know. If you're going to choose the agents, use them in a way in the episode that tells you why you're choosing the agents and why they're the best ones for the job. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think they've done that a lot better in other episodes. So that's why I don't know, that kind of grew on me once I was like, okay, why is Aura lifter? Another thing. Okay, so Mayhem, Venom, they got this huge $10 million jade head. How are they getting it out of there? Why are not you using Switchblade? Get the cargo nets and haul the thing out by air. You're going to drag it out of there with the back end of Stinger's claw, dragging down the mountain. Ooh, don't mind me. I got this dragon head, $10 million dragon head. What's he doing with it? I want to know. I want to know what his full plan is, not just to find it. I don't know. And then the other thing too that really killed me, they gave no explanation about those plants, the magical plants, the sleeping plants, or whatever. We had no idea how they became magical. You know, they set that up so much, and they tease us at the beginning of the episode about these magical plants, and they do different things, and all it did was put them to sleep, and there was real no explanation on why they were there and how they got these properties. You know, just give me a little something to tie that in. But it was almost like, again, they're trying to do too much and not focus on one continuous story.
Right.
Oh, let's throw in magical plants. Oh, let's throw in a ape missing her baby, and I don't know. There was just too much like that. Okay, and then I guess this was probably more of a tick, but on the Thunderhawk conversion, when they go to defense mode and Thunderhawk converts,
Yeah.
where the license plate area is, where you usually get that nice mask logo, or you get that helmet, the mask itself logo, or it says
Right.
mask in more of the logo style font. It was just big black letters, mask. It looked like Scott was back there with a spray paint can and just sprayed mask on the back of the Thunderhawk. I mean, come on. It was horrible. I don't know why the animators decided just to write in there, mask. It was just, I don't know. It stood out to me like a sore thumb. I'm telling you.
I did notice that. I didn't mark it
Did you
up, but
see?
I did
Okay.
notice it.
Oh, I was like, what? What is that? Give me that cool mask logo back there.
Well, like you said, Scott might have been trying the Krylon touch. That's all.
Oh, the mask logo's worn off, Dad. Let me give me some spray paint. I'll just take care of it for you. Anyway, I just felt like this was not near the top. And I was hoping it would be average, more towards the middle, but I was like, no, there's too many gaps in there. So,
well, the bigger question is, are you still at a 2?
I'm still at a 2. I'm leaving it at a 2. Yep. It's not going any higher. Not going any higher. And if we keep talking about it more, I might drop it.
I just thought out that whole list, you would have dropped it by yourself.
Yeah, it's not Panda Power. I'm holding that as my very low. But anyway, all right. Well, let's get on to some other people's opinions while we wrap up our opinions here. Over on our poll, we'll do the math here, unless you was able to change your vote.
No, I wasn't able to do the change here.
We had 15 votes. There would be 1 5, 5 4s, 6 for 3, and 3 for 2. So 9 out of the 15 were 3 or 2. So that was definitely
not their best.
Not the best episode, according to everybody who put in their vote. And we did get a couple comments. Of course, Anna, she's always faithful in commenting.
Right. She says, this is an average episode. Its best moments include the part where Matt, Julio, and Scott are nearly killed by poisonous plants, and T-Bob saves all of them, and the scene is in the beginning where some of the special abilities of the mountain plants are being described. T-Bob had a couple of good comments, especially it's been nice knowing me when Thunderhawk is about to crash, and just like me at the very end, when they say how Sabala looks almost human. Still, I don't think the story is good enough or exciting enough to place this episode above average. The fight scenes were okay, but nothing more than that. Also, I thought the plants with the special abilities were more interesting than the jade. It surprised me a little that Matt took Scott and T-Bob along on the mission, since he normally is so careful with making sure they keep out of trouble. But maybe there wasn't enough time to take them back to where they stayed.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised too when they're up in the air and oh shoot, Scott and T-Bob are in the back seat and
Right.
Matt's being, full on attacked. That kind of surprised me there too. And then, okay, so she said the fight scenes were okay. And while you were talking, another point I meant to mention was we had one mask use this whole episode. It was Ara that she used it twice. Okay. So she used it to move the lizards back and then to move the head. But that was it. We didn't. Nobody.
Nope.
The freaking dudes weren't wearing their masks in this episode when we wanted them to.
Right.
You know, when they needed to rush in to save T-Bob, when they needed to, explore, they weren't. They didn't have their masks on. Come on. It's the name of the show. Okay. All right, I'm done. We had one more comment too from Jade Von Weir, who she always goes into the great detail here. So I'm going to try to get through this. Hopefully I won't miss out any of her important points here. But she says it's an interesting, if confusing story, but the drawing was off. It does beat Panda Power here, if just. Thank you. She's at least on my page. Did like how the Jade Dragon was drawn, however. Nice, too, to see Venom was thwarted by not just M.A.S.K, but by the lizards. I also like finding out how they got quinine for malaria patients. I really do miss the days where you actually learn something from cartoons. Yeah, even the PSAs was something.
Right.
Goes on to say, story was okay overall, but seriously, the bit with the mushrooms, flowers, annoys the tar out of me. Did as a kid too, probably why I remember the scene for years, in spite of not watching the show then. She's talking about she lives in a wildfire part of Texas, and I've never seen a flower like that. What does the flower bit annoy me? Here they were taught in elementary school that skulls on bottles mean poison or danger in general. So this scene, you see Matt, in spite of finding Julio unconscious in there and the flowers, it's already a red flag that something dangerous there, plus the human skulls among the cattle ones around the area. So there's your warning sign, Matt, to grab Julio and get out of there, or something. She goes on. He decides, instead of going to get him safety, to to take on the last poor Yurik scene from Hamlet, picks up the skull, says a stupid comment, and poisons himself. This behavior made zero sense to me. Why do they not have Matt try and get Julio out of there? I mean, he could have at least attempted to get Thunderhawk to drive him to safety. Would have been more to character. I do like the bit where T-Bob rescues the two of them, and later Scott, as he does have many hero moments, the out of sync light up on his mouth aside. It was fun to see just how much the robot could actually carry. Yeah, that surprised me as well. Still, I wish they'd done prior scene differently, to more along how Matt normally reacted. In fact, this is why I have trouble even getting through this episode. Okay, so the bit with the whole drama right before the halftime is what she mainly had a problem with, and I can see that it was good, and it, like I said, it was to the point where I don't know how in the world they're gonna get him out of there, because they didn't really set it up. And then then it kind of came to me as they're running through the jungle there. Oh, T-Bob's gonna stumble on him, or Scott is. I thought Scott, that one time when he looked down, when he was kind of looking for where T-Bob was amongst the fog, that he was going to see Matt or Julio then.
Right.
But it was actually T-Bob that found them. So, and yay for T-Bob. That's a fun thing too. That's a positive note that, T-Bob's always the comic relief, and yeah, we rag on him a lot, or at least I do, probably more than you do. But
yeah,
He does have his moments,
Right.
and driving or flying Thunderhawk, when Matt was sick that one episode, and I made him into a hero, on YouTube there
You
through
did.
that music video. So he does have his moments. So and his purpose, other than just being annoying. So anyway, that's I think that's going to about do it for our comments. We didn't talk about any kind of script similarities. Did you see anything or make any notes on that?
I didn't see anything. I did keep notes, but I didn't see anything that really stuck out.
I didn't make any notes on that either. I was just kind of ready to get this one done. Let's get on to the next one, episode 52. And speaking of which, that's going to be our next one, episode 52, the Royal Cape Caper. And Venom was going to steal, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, this cape and helmet, and then mass produce replicas, selling them as expensive fakes. Now, this seems like a more, kind of practical plot episode for Venom, where they're trying to pass off fakes and make a quick buck, and we're getting away from all the mystery. Maybe the writers after this episode was like, man, I'm tapped out on the mystery. We got to go on to something else right now.
Right.
Get them a quick buck, and then we'll get back to the adventure.
Exactly.
So, well, do you have any closing thoughts or comments on episode 51?
Not on 51, but I do want to, like we said at the opening, just want to shout out. Thanks for the being loyal followers. I'll call it. Maybe not loyal listeners right lately. We have been, like I said, time has really escaped us, really. But we are going to do our best to be more frequent on MASKast chat, and we're still trying to rope in a few other maybe voice actors, if not maybe try to find the writers or someone just to get this back into it, because we miss it. It's not that we don't want to. It's time has just escaped us at times. But thank you again for putting your comments in. Keep staying on with us on the Facebook and our blog. It's an honor, it really is. So just wanted to keep encouraging you, because it's encouraging us to keep on track.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. It's a shot in an arm, which everybody needs once in a while, just to keep pushing through and get a little adrenaline to keep doing what they like to do. And the comments, and even over at our other show there on Rediscover the 80s, we're getting a few comments here and there. Glad you're back and all this stuff. So we appreciate those, and it is encouraging to kind of keep us motivated and getting these episodes out on a regular basis. Even once a month at this point would be great, but I'm hoping we'll at least get in a couple times a month now,
Right.
And get these recorded and produced and out to the masses.
That's it.
It's been fun, partner.
It has been. It's this, like I said, this has been a treat, and hopefully more will come. But like I said, keep following us on our Facebook page, Twitter. Keep following us on the blog at agentsofmask.com. And until next time, thanks for watching and listening to MASKast.
And thanks to you, YouTube viewers, who sit through our wonderful mistakes and everything through the recording session. But again, I invite you to go over and listen to the podcast too, because we do take the time to produce it and get all those mistakes out of there, and add in the audio comments. And it takes a minute, as you like to say now, Wyatt, to get through those. But I'm pretty proud of the results, and makes it a fun show to listen to. And we go back and listen to them ourselves too. I've been
quite
doing
a bit.
That.
I do.
That helps with the adrenaline and the little shot in the arm to keep pushing forward and to get through this, because I do want to get through and get to episode 75 one day.
Right. I'm
And
just kind of curious for the listeners or even the watchers.
mhm,
Maybe we should do a poll. And what's their favorite episode that they've listened to out of MASKast? I know
mhm.
for me, it's a toss-up between the voice actors. To be honest,
Oh yeah.
I had a great time talking to Doug, and then talking to Sharon and Brennan. It was awesome to hear them. But I like all our episodes too, so it's hard to
Yeah.
pick a favorite out.
Yeah, it's hard not to top that first Doug interview. I mean, it got to the point where I went back and I think somebody asked to get it up on YouTube or something, and I don't think we did a video chat with Doug. It was just all audio,
Yeah, just all audio via Skype.
and same with Brendan and Sharon. So we
Well,
didn't
now they were
record.
on video. They were on video. We just didn't
Yeah,
YouTube it at the time. We didn't know.
it was
We
through
weren't using Google
Skype.
Hangouts
So
at the time.
yeah, we Google Hangouts makes it easy to post to YouTube. So we weren't recording the video feed with them, but I still went back and put that little video of Doug's interview up on YouTube with some relevant pictures and stuff, and that was fun to kind of put together and listen to again. So those are really fun, and I have fun kind of going back and forth too with Bill and Eric on
Oh
some
yeah,
of the
those are
topics
fun.
we go through and hash out. And it's always to get good opinions. Obviously we are the hosts, and we kind of know each other. We've been around each other a lot, so it's nice to get a couple other opinions in there too, and to have them in the mix. It's been fun. And that 3-parter that we did with Bill on collecting, you
Oh
remember
yeah,
that?
I do.
That was that was epic, if I can use that term on our own show. But I mean, we went through every single piece of memorabilia we could think of in each. I think we went through each series of toys and
Yeah.
just everything, and it was just fun to go through each one of those. And it was so long. I can't remember. It was like 2.5 or 3 hours that we were on the hangout with Bill for on
Right.
that one. And we brought out, he was in his office with the toys behind him, and I had mine laid out too to pick up and talk about. And we pretty much went through everything we had in those in that podcast and series of podcasts. So that was pretty epic too. And we've done a couple. Remember we did one with him to when they had that little charity auction
Yeah,
right
yeah.
after
And I think I
the
got
hurt.
unfortunately dropped out of that, or I wasn't available for that one. There was one that you had to take it.
Yeah, I think that might have been it. That was right after, was it Sandy?
Yeah, Hurricane Sandy.
Uh, yeah, where you even took some supplies up there too.
Hmm.
You just moved away, and uh, that was just a fun little nugget to throw in there. And yeah, I mean we've interviewed a lot of fun people along the way that are just Mask fans and in different stages of life, and have
Well,
different roles and jobs. And
like you said, interviewing Paul Pamphilone there when he drew those two painting posters. That
mhm.
was just fun to talk with him too.
Yeah, he was just I mean, he is just a regular guy, and that was something fun. He's really creative. I still follow him now. Uh, what is the name? Oh man, he's gonna kill me if he's gonna listen to this. Um, it's something Arms. He goes by now, where he is essentially photographing toys. He's photographing lots of GI Joe pictures, and he creates the backgrounds, the scenery behind them and stuff too. Really cool pictures. He really into photography. Um, oh, it's gonna kill me. I'm gonna have to look it up so I don't so I can properly plug him. Swivel Arms. I think it's
Yeah,
Swivel
that's it.
Arms.
12 Alarms.
Um,
But yeah,
mainly
it's just
on like social media now, like on Instagram. But
yeah, but
yeah, no, there's people
there's
just love mask.
that's it. There's so many more that we find even now. You know, we go through. I still hit the Facebook page, and I'm like, wow, there's more fans. There's more. Wow, this is more impacting than I still think. You know, it's just oh wow, we got more. It's amazing what type of a draw this is, and there's such a disappointment with us, the fans, and what Hasbro is doing, and their news that they gave us basically that there's little to no
Hope.
effort gonna be put off towards Mask. I mean, that's just heartbreaking. But there's a part of me that just wants to keep going. Maybe enough of us can create a buzz to. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
being too hopeful. My high ratings on MASKast get to me, but I'm just hopeful that maybe someone in Hasbro exec or something will at least entertain us, the fans,
Yeah.
and say, "Look, okay, what would you like to see? Let's see if it would be worth it." That kind of thing, because they're bringing back all the other entities
Yeah.
that had less. I think maybe I'm just being um, arbitrary here, but to me, they have less fan base than we do. So why are they getting all the press and not us? Anyway, we could ramble on this all day long.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm still holding out for a cartoon reboot. I think that's the best thing we can hope for right now
True.
with Hasbro investing in that studio over in Ireland and just in general bringing back, Stretch Armstrong of all things to a Netflix series. So I'm holding out for that, and we're just going to keep our fingers crossed. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is a Micronauts Facebook page that has 4,000 followers, but that's what impresses me. We continue to kind of grow, and people continue to follow us even the last 6 months where we haven't done much of anything over there. Once in a while I'll get something to share, and we haven't done many podcasts or anything, and we're over 4,000 on Facebook. I don't know what our number is on Twitter. I think we're over 1,000 on Twitter, but um anyway, it's not necessarily about how many people are following you, but there's all those other Facebook groups on just collecting. And I scroll through, I like to find stuff on Twitter, just search mask and start retweeting stuff. And there's
Right.
still people, it's not hard to find somebody talking about it
No.
anywhere. So yeah, I don't know. I'm holding out for a new cartoon series. Give me 13 episodes to try, or 10 or whatever. Get that initial run and see how it does, and maybe we'll get some like Comic-Con exclusive figures or something like they've done with not Micronauts, but the what was the other one they just released that
Rom.
wasn't ROM.
Micronauts.
I can't remember now. But they went back to like the original molds. Well, somebody bought, trying to remember now. Some toy company bought the rights to produce new figures of it's the insect ones.
Oh yeah.
I think that maybe that wasn't Hasbro. Maybe that was Mattel. Anyway, I'm waiting for somebody to do something like that. Let's go back and let's make a half a dozen mask figures at the 6-inch scale, or even the 3 3/4 scale, and release them out there. Like Funko's doing that with Batman. The
Yeah.
Batman 66 figures, you can find them the 3 3/4 size in Toys R Us now. They're 10
Until
bucks
they
a
go out of business.
piece. But yeah, but do something fun like that. I just wish they would let the license go a little bit more and let some of these companies that know what they're doing, like Funko, make some fun figures like that. Just give me something else. Give
Right.
me a little bit of extra stuff beyond Hasbro. and what they can do. That's what I'm looking for. But we shall see. We
That's
shall
it.
see. All right. Well, let's sign off here on YouTube, and thank you, viewers,
Yes,
for
thanks.
for watching us, and
We'll
we will
catch you
see
next time.
you next time. Yes.